Hello and welcome to my channel. As you are seeing this video, I have something I'd like to share with you, which I think is pretty special. I realized a long time ago after I left the monasteries in the Far East that life is special and that we are actually born with two things when we come into life. The first is, of course, we have life and a body. The second is something that's unknown. We're born with a clock. That clock begins ticking the second we exit our mother, and it continues to tick. And here's the interesting thing. When it comes to our lives, we never know really what time it is. And I think because we don't really realize what time it is, we honestly feel that we have all the time in the world, and we begin to take life for granted and do whatever it is that we choose to ourselves and even to other people. One of the things that we don't realize is that when that last tick of that clock comes, there's not another one. And what's my point? It's not about being negative. This became magnified to me recently because I had a really good friend that just left this world. She was like a mother to me. I could even say, like the song goes, that at times she was the wind beneath my wings, and she always encouraged me to keep going. Stephen, the world knows. And my point in all of that is not to bring about sadness, not to bring about anything other than clarity to people. And I'm just a person that enjoys being sincere about life and living. And here's something that I think we all can learn to realize, that when a good friend leaves this world, do you have any regrets? If you do, it's too late because there's nothing that you can do about it except live with those regrets. When Connie left this world, uh, I realized I had none because I already always had given her the best that I possibly could. And that's my message today. If we live life with every tick of that internal clock being the best human that we can be, then we'll end up having no regrets when it's over. It was once said to me this, that when you transition and leave this world, the Creator is going to ask you one question and one only. How much did you love? How much did you love your life? How much did you love you in that life? And how much did you love all of humankind? And I think that's the message today. Because you see, we can all be incredible things. We have a divine side, which very few of us ever realize or even utilize or come in contact with. Yet we can, if we so choose. And you see, we can do that when we get on the path of consciousness, which basically means living consciously, being consciously aware of what you're doing. Being aware that instead of giving a cross word, give a kind word. Show how much you care to people. The best way to unarm your enemies is to love them anyway, in spite of whatever it is that they do. I'm not saying get taken advantage of. I'm saying always act in that path of compassion. And that's the path that this individual did study while he was studying with the Tibetans, the Mahayana Tibetan path of Buddhism, which is the path of compassion, the art of compassion, perpetually living in a compassionate way towards all comers and towards all people. Always greet people in kindness. And you know that old adage is true that says, leave a person better off when you leave them than before you met them. And if you can do that, then you really touch people. Attempt to touch people in any and every way that you can through acts of kindness, through acts of sharing, through acts of joy, laughter, love, all of the positive aspects of a divine being. It's been shared with you before on my channel that it's a perfect world and we're perfect people. We just simply don't live it that way when we can. But that internal clock in each and every one of us is forever ticking. It has no stop to it. And when that last tick comes, that's it. You have no more. All of your moments, all of your joys, all of your sadness are now over as far as this reality is concerned. Yes, you'll move into another and so on and so on. But whenever you reach any reality, such as the one that we're in here and living in now, be that kind person. Always come from your heart, never your mind, just your mind. Because when we come from just mind, we have the tendency to come more from an ego-based perspective on any and everything than we do anything else. When we come from our heart only knows the truth. And the heart, by the way, is the most powerful aspect of us. The mind was only ever designed as a steering mechanism. That's it. It's like the steering wheel to your car. The heart is like the engine in your car. It's what propels it and moves it. The heart is what gives us the senses that we experience. Yeah, I humorously share with people that living life is like blunt force trauma. We get the full impact of everything. We get filled with anger, hatred. But let me ask you something. What has anger or hatred ever proven to you about anything? I could honestly say to you, when you share anger and hatred, you're going to get that in return. After all, look at the world. Isn't that what's going on? You don't have to be like that. I don't have to be like that. In fact, I won't be like that. I'm going to be who I am as my unique expression of the divine. And you, as all people, can do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, we can live this world differently. Imagine what this world would be like if it were only filled with the idea of love. Would there ever be a negative experience? Would there ever be the idea of war? Would there be anything other than peace? That answer would be no. Only peace would be here. And to think that we have those choices in every single moment in which we're living. We can share the best aspects of us, or we can share the worst aspects of us. After all, it is a choice. It's a choice that we ourselves can engineer. Don't blame people for what they do. Have compassion for what they do because they really don't know any better. They really don't, unless you, I, or someone educates them that there's a better, gentler path in the way of experience of life. Life, after all, comes down to what do you choose? What do you choose as your experience? What is it you choose to live? Don't let other people hinder you in the way that you choose to live. And in the same fashion, don't take advantage of them either. Karma being what it is, either way, if you give them the best that you are, that's the only thing that can return. If you give them the worst that you are, that's the only thing that can return. Those are options. Besides, when we do either of those things, like let's say be mean to somebody, what are we really doing? We're judging them, and we're judging them for who we're not, who they're not. And as long as you judge a person, a situation, or a thing, you'll never know the truth of that person, a thing, or place. You won't. You can't. What you'll know is your judgment. Is that an act of loving kindness? No. Is that being kind? No. Is that just sharing love with that person? That answer is also no. But there are always options. More of us tend to hold ourselves from life instead of living it fully, to the fullest experience. That's why we're here. So we can get the deepest, most meaningful experience that we can. And with that experience comes the idea of knowledge. Knowledge has much more value than all the money on the planet. And so does love. Love is just an incredible experience that we can choose to do. You can either open your heart or you can allow your mind to close your heart. Either way, it's still a choice. And the other thing is you're in this life. And there's really not much you can do about it. Oh, sure, we sit back and think things like, well, I can just commit suicide and get myself out of here. Well, I can make you a promise. You do that one, you're going to find yourself still standing there. I know that this friend that recently passed, bless her lovely heart, she knows that she's still standing there. And I had the honor of working with her for 13, 14 years of her in my life. And we shared many experiences, but they were all done in joy and consciousness and happiness. Never a cross word between the two of us. Never. Would not have been. She was a friend. You see, where love exists, nothing else can. If it's really love in reality, and to even accomplish that, love yourself first. Because if you don't love you, no one else can either. More importantly, you cannot really love anyone else. We all too often choose so much in the way of conditions. I'll love you as an example if you love me first. No, Stephen won't do that. I'm just going to love you all. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what color you are, because you're special, you're people. And when we realize the truth of that special nature, all we could ever offer any human that we meet is loving kindness, acts of kindness, doing things for them, lifting people, because we can. If the whole world, each of us, began to lift each other, once more, this world would change. It would become a different place. It doesn't take radical change. It doesn't take wars. It doesn't take anything except something that's simple. And that simplicity resides within us. That simplicity is recognizing who we really are in a divine sense. Ladies and gentlemen, we can live consciously or not. That's a choice, and that's up to you. When you live consciously, there's no such thing as an ego. There's no such thing as arrogance. It cannot exist. In fact, when it comes to the idea of love, there is no arrogance to that. And that's something that you nor I can control. I was talking with a lovely lady last night about the idea of love. And she won't say the word to her boyfriend because he won't say it. That's conditions. It doesn't matter. Just say it. Express everything to who you are and every moment that you have, because you don't know when that last moment is. There's an old saying in India that goes something to this effect. You are allocated a certain number of breaths, and once you've used the last one, there simply are no more. The same is true with that last tick of the clock. No one knows how that's going to take place, whether through a natural disaster or through the idea of age. It's going to come. No one can really escape that unless, possibly, they achieve true self-mastery. True self-mastery, mastering yourself first, not the world. You can master any situation in the world, but that doesn't mean you've mastered you. You see, we are all individually and collectively in control only of ourselves. And in that, you're only in control of your mind and your emotions. Other than that, all we can do is influence. But no one can control anything in life. Not really. We humans only think that we can as we attempt to get the best of each other in life. That's error living. Why not live to the best that you are by being the best that you are? Only you know you. You're the only one that really can know you, unless you decide to share the truth of that instead of the facade of that. And most of us live our lives for other people and for other things. And we miss ourselves in each of those moments. That's why living in the present, living in the moment is so important, because that's where the tick of that clock takes place. When we learn to live in that moment, in that ever present, we become different people. We do. There is no future. There is no past. There's only now to be the best person that you can be. Not for the sake of others, for the sake of yourself. When you leave that person, when that person exits your life, whether it's through transition or whether it's because you decided to go in different paths, that's fine. But when you know in your heart of hearts that you've left that person in a better state of being just because of yourself, then you've achieved the idea of life. And if you do that for every person, and they experience that as a living demonstration, you can pretty much count on how they are going to handle other people as well. It's probably going to be the same. Live in gratitude. Live in gratitude just for who you are, not for who you aren't. Because who you aren't, you will never be. You cannot be. Why? Because you cannot accept who you are. Accept who you are is that special divine creature that was born in perfection, has a soul on the inside. We're all exactly alike. When we all experience an emotion, it's the same except the individual imprint of that one simple being. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stephen Hairfield. I spent many years as a monk in India, and it's my attempt to shift people by one person at a time. And to do that, I must become the person that I am before that can ever take place. And that's an always unfolding process as we change from moment to moment, as we move from one state of being into another. But when you get into the state of being of unconditional love, that allows life to unfold like the budding of a rose. Please, to know more about me, visit my website at www.hairfield.com. Shanti Satyam, and in Hindi, that means peaceful truth.